The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was built to make visitors feel small. Its ceiling stretched so high that clouds sometimes formed inside it. The walls were made of black stone that seemed to eat light. 7 massive thrones sat in a half circle, and on each throne sat a being from one of the ruling species of the galaxy. Admiral Do-yoon stood in the center of this hall. He wore his military uniform, the one with all his medals and honors. But here, in this place, his medals meant nothing. Here, humanity was just another young species waiting to be judged. He had traveled for 6 months to reach this place. 6 months away from Earth, away from his family, away from everything he knew. The Council had summoned humanity to answer one simple question. Should Earth be allowed to join galactic civilization? Do-hyun had practiced his speech 1,000 times. He had memorized facts about human history, human art, human science. He was ready to show them that humanity deserved a place among the stars. But when he looked up at those 7 thrones, he felt something cold settle in his stomach. The beings on those thrones were not looking at him with curiosity. They were looking at him with fear. The first to speak was a creature made of living crystal. Its voice sounded like glass breaking. "We have watched your species for 200 of your years," it said. "We have seen your wars. We have seen your weapons. We have seen how quickly you adapt and change." Do-hyun opened his mouth to respond, but another council member cut him off. This one looked like a massive insect with too many eyes. "In 200 years, you went from riding animals to splitting atoms. No species in recorded history has advanced so fast. We are proud of our progress," Do-hyun said carefully. "We hope to share our discoveries with the galaxy." A sound came from the thrones. It took Do-hyun a moment to realize it was laughter. But it was not happy laughter. It was the kind of laughter that comes from fear. The oldest council member leaned forward. This being looked almost like a tree that had learned to walk. Its bark-like skin was covered with glowing symbols. "Young human," it said, "we did not call you here to welcome you. We called you here to judge you." The cold feeling in Do-hyun's stomach grew worse. "Judge us? For what crime?" "Not for crime," the crystal being said. "For potential." Ambassador Yuna watched from the viewing gallery above. She was Earth's diplomat, sent to observe and report back home. She had spent years learning about alien cultures, alien languages, alien ways of thinking. She had believed that understanding would lead to acceptance. Now, she understood something else. The council was afraid, and afraid beings do terrible things. "Our seers have looked into possible futures," the tree-like being continued. "In almost every future they saw, humanity grows to become the most powerful force in the galaxy. In many of those futures, you destroy everything we have built. But we don't want to destroy anything," Do-hyun said. His voice was steady, but Yuna could see his hands shaking. "We want to learn. We want to trade. We want to be friends." "That is what you want now," the insect being said. "But what will you want in 1,000 years? In 10,000 years? Your species changes too fast. You are unpredictable. You are dangerous." Do-hyun took a step forward. The guards around the room raised their weapons. "You can't punish us for things we haven't done. Things we might never do." "We can," the crystal being said. "And we will." The oldest council member stood. When it spoke, the words seemed to shake the air itself. "The Galactic Council has reached its decision. The species known as humanity is hereby exiled to the dead zone. Your planet will be surrounded by barriers that cannot be broken. You will have no contact with the rest of the galaxy. You will be forgotten." Yuna gripped the railing of the viewing gallery. The dead zone. She had read about it in her studies. It was a region of space where the Council sent their worst criminals, their most dangerous prisoners. Nothing that went into the dead zone ever came out. Do-hyun's face went pale. You're giving us a death sentence. Without trade, without resources from other worlds, Earth will die. That, the insect being said coldly, is not our concern. The guards moved forward and grabbed Do-yoon's arms. He struggled, but they were too strong. As they dragged him from the hall, he shouted back at the thrones, "You're making a mistake. History will remember what you did here." The council members said nothing. They simply watched him go. Yuna did not wait to see more. She ran through the corridors of the council building, her mind racing. She had to get back to her ship. She had to warn Earth. Maybe there was still time to prepare. Her personal communicator buzzed. It was a message from the council, already spreading to every corner of the galaxy. The message declared humanity dangerous. It warned all species to stay away from Earth. It announced that the barriers would be activated in 7 days. 7 days. That was all the time they had. Yuna reached her ship and immediately opened a channel to Earth. Her hands were shaking as she typed in the codes. When the connection was made, she saw the face of General Taiho on her screen. He was an old man with white hair and kind eyes. He had fought in 3 wars and won them all. But even he looked worried when he saw Yuna's expression. "How bad?" he asked simply. "The worst," Yuna replied. "Total exile. The dead zone." Taiho closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, the kindness was gone. In its place was something harder, something stronger. "How long do we have?" 7 days. "Then we have 7 days to save as much as we can." He paused. "What should I tell the people?" Yuna thought about this for a long moment. What do you tell 8 billion people when their world is about to be cut off from the universe forever? What words could possibly be enough? Finally, she spoke. "Tell them to remember who we are. Tell them that we survived ice ages and plagues and wars. Tell them that we have faced extinction before and won. Tell them that this is just another challenge, and humanity has never lost to a challenge." Taiho nodded slowly. "And if they ask about hope?" Yuna looked out the window of her ship. In the distance, she could see the massive machines that would create the barriers. They were already moving into position around Earth's solar system. "Tell them that hope is not something others give us," she said. "It is something we make for ourselves. The council thinks they are burying us. They don't understand. They are just giving us time to grow." The transmission ended. Yuna sat alone in her ship as it began the long journey home. Around her, the galaxy continued to spin, full of stars and planets and species that would soon forget humanity ever existed. But Yuna knew something the council did not. She had studied humans her entire life. She knew what they were capable of when pushed to the edge. The council thought they were removing a threat. They thought they were protecting themselves. They had no idea they had just created something far more dangerous than anything their seers had predicted. They had given humanity a reason to prove them right. The barriers sealed 7 days later, just as promised. Earth vanished from galactic maps. Communication stopped. Ships that approached the dead zone were turned away. The galaxy moved on. New species were discovered. Old wars were fought and forgotten. The story of the strange, fast-changing beings from a small blue planet became just another footnote in history. But behind those barriers, in the darkness of exile, humanity was not dying. Humanity was planning. The first 10 years were the hardest. Without trade from other worlds, Earth ran out of rare metals. Without galactic medicine, old diseases came back. Without hope, many people simply gave up. General Taiho watched his world suffer. Every day brought new reports of food shortages, power failures, and riots in the streets. Every day, more people died. The population that had once numbered 8 billion dropped to 6 billion, then 5 billion, then 4. But Taiho did not give up. He gathered the brightest minds on Earth and gave them one mission: survive. Not just survive for a year or a decade. Survive forever. The council thinks we will die quietly in the dark, he told them. We will prove them wrong. We will build something they never imagined possible. And one day, we will show them what humanity becomes when it has nothing left to lose. The scientists worked day and night. They found new ways to grow food in underground farms. They built machines that could pull water from the air. They created power plants that ran on sunlight and wind. Slowly, very slowly, humanity stopped dying. Taiho was an old man when the first breakthrough came. A young scientist named Siwu had discovered something amazing while studying the barriers that trapped Earth. The barriers were made of energy, a kind of energy that no one had ever seen before. And Siwu had figured out how to copy it. If we can make this energy ourselves, Siwu explained to the Council of Leaders, we can power our cities forever. We can build ships that travel faster than anything in the galaxy. We can become something new. Taiho smiled for the first time in years. Do it, he said. But Taiho did not live to see Siwu's work completed. He died peacefully in his sleep at the age of 92. His last words were to his granddaughter, a young military officer named Minji. Remember why we fight, he told her. Not for revenge. Not for hatred. We fight so that our children will have a future. Never forget that. Minji held his hand as he passed. She was only 25 years old, but in that moment, she felt the weight of all humanity settle on her shoulders. Her grandfather had kept them alive through the worst years. Now, it was her turn to lead them forward. 20 years after the exile began, Minji was promoted to general. The title had belonged to her grandfather, and she wore it with pride. Under her command, the United Earth Defense Force grew from a small group of survivors into a true military power. But Minji knew that strength alone was not enough. The Council had better weapons, more ships, and thousands of years of experience. If humanity tried to fight them directly, they would lose Dot, so she chose a different path. She ordered her soldiers to study, to learn, to understand. Know your enemy better than they know themselves, she told her officers. Find their weaknesses, find their fears. And when the time comes, we will use that knowledge to win without firing a single shot. The decades passed. Siwu, now an old man himself, finally completed his life's work. He stood before the leaders of Earth and presented his greatest creation, a device that could harvest energy from dying stars. This changes everything, he said. With this technology, we will never need anyone else's resources again. We can power our civilization for 1,000,000 years. We can build anything we want. Minji looked at the device with wonder in her eyes. Can you build more of them? I can build thousands, Siwu replied. I can build enough to power a fleet that will make the Council tremble. But Minji shook her head. We will not build a fleet to destroy. We will build a fleet to protect. A fleet to heal. When we return to the galaxy, I want them to fear us not because of what we might take, but because of what we might give. Siwu did not understand at first, but as the years passed, he began to see what Minji meant. Humanity had suffered greatly during the exile. They knew what it felt like to be abandoned, to be forgotten, to be left to die. They would not do the same to others. Instead, they would offer something no one expected. They would offer help. The population slowly grew again. New cities were built underground and in space. Children were born who had never known the time before exile. To them, the stories of the galaxy seemed like fairy tales, distant and unreal. But their parents remembered, and their grandparents remembered. The memory of being cast out, of being judged for crimes they had not committed, burned in the hearts of every human alive. 50 years after the exile, A young pilot named Jiho was born on a space station orbiting Mars. He grew up hearing stories about the time when humans had traveled freely among the stars. His grandmother had been a trader who visited dozens of alien worlds. Now those worlds were just names in old books. Why did they hate us so much? Jiho asked his grandmother when he was small. She thought about this for a long time before answering. They did not hate us, she said finally. They feared us. And fear makes people do terrible things. Will we ever go back? His grandmother smiled sadly. I do not know, little one. But I know this. If we ever do go back, we must be better than they were. We must show them that their fear was wrong. Jiho never forgot those words. When he grew up, he joined the Defense Force and became one of their best pilots. He trained for missions that might never happen, to fly ships that had never left the solar system. But he trained anyway, because he believed that one day, the barriers would fall. 70 years after the exile, General Minji retired. She was an old woman now, her hair white and her steps slow. But her mind was still sharp, and her spirit was still strong. Her replacement was a young admiral named Haon. She had been born in the underground cities of Earth, in the darkest days of the exile. She had grown up eating food from indoor farms and breathing recycled air. She had never seen an alien or visited another world, but she had studied them all. She knew more about galactic politics than most aliens did. She knew the Council's secrets, their fears, their lies. And she knew that the time was coming when humanity would need that knowledge. 100 years after Earth was exiled, Admiral Hayan stood before a crowd of millions. The barriers still held, but something had changed. Humanity was no longer the weak, frightened species that had been cast into darkness. They had become something else. Something harder. Something stronger. Something the Council had never imagined possible. 100 years ago, Hayan said, the Galactic Council threw us away like garbage. They thought we would die quietly and be forgotten. They thought wrong. The crowd cheered. The sound was like thunder. We have built wonders they cannot imagine. We have technology they cannot understand. We have become exactly what they feared we would become. She paused and looked out at the faces before her. Young and old, strong and weak, all united by a shared history of suffering and survival. But we will not use our power for revenge. We will not become the monsters they accused us of being. When those barriers fall, and they will fall, we will show the galaxy something it has never seen before. We will show them what humanity truly is. Our voice rose to fill the hall. They cast us out because they feared what we might become. They were right to be afraid, but they feared the wrong thing. They thought we would become destroyers. Instead, we became builders. They thought we would bring death. Instead, we bring life. They thought they were protecting themselves from us. Instead, they gave us the time we needed to become their salvation. The crowd was silent now, hanging on every word. Tomorrow, we begin work on the final project. Tomorrow, we start building the tools that will break the barriers. And when we emerge from this prison they made for us, we will not come as conquerors. She smiled, and in that smile was everything humanity had become: the pain of exile, the strength of survival, and the promise of something new. We will come as teachers, and the lesson we will teach them is simple. You should never have given us a reason to prove you wrong. The crowd erupted. The sound echoed through the halls and cities of humanity, through space stations and underground bunkers, across the surface of Mars and the moons of Jupiter. For 100 years, Earth had been silent. Soon, the galaxy would hear humanity's voice again, and nothing would ever be the same. The barrier fell on a Tuesday. There was no explosion, no great battle, no warning. One moment, the massive wall of energy surrounded Earth's solar system. The next moment, It was simply gone. Captain Jiho was the first to notice. He sat in the pilot's chair of the Remembrance, watching his instruments with tired eyes. He had been watching these same instruments for 20 years, waiting for this moment. And now that it had finally come, he almost missed it. "The barrier is down," he said quietly. Then louder to his crew, "The barrier is down." The bridge erupted in cheers. Men and women who had trained their entire lives for a mission that might never happen now realized their moment had arrived. Some cried. Some laughed. Some simply stood in silence, too overwhelmed to speak. Jiho opened a channel to Earth. "This is the Remembrance," he said. "The barrier is gone. We are free." On Earth, in the great hall where Admiral Hyun had given her speech, the message played on every screen. For a moment, no one moved. Then the cheering started. It spread from city to city, from station to station, from world to world within the solar system. 100 years of exile had ended. But Hyun did not celebrate. She sat in her command center, surrounded by maps and screens showing the positions of every human ship. Her face was calm, but her mind was racing. "Begin Phase 1, she ordered. "Send the scouts." 12 small ships launched from hidden bases across the solar system. They were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Their hulls were made of materials that no alien scanner could read. Their engines used the star energy technology that Suwoo had created decades ago. They could move faster and quieter than any vessel in the Council's fleet. Lieutenant Nayan commanded one of these scout ships. She was young, only 28 years old, but she had been chosen for this mission because of her skill and her courage. She had memorized the patrol routes of every Council ship within 50 light years. She knew exactly where to go and what to do. Her first target was a border station at the edge of what used to be the dead zone. This station had been built to watch the barriers, to make sure nothing escaped. For 100 years, its crew had grown bored and lazy. They had forgotten what they were guarding against. Nayan's ship appeared on their sensors for exactly 0.003 seconds. In that time, she transmitted a pulse of energy that shut down every system on the station. Lights went dark. Computers died. Communication arrays fell silent. The aliens on the station felt a moment of pure terror. Then emergency power kicked in, dim and weak. They rushed to their control panels, but nothing worked. They were alive, unhurt, but completely helpless. Nayan did not stop to gloat or explain. She simply moved on to her next target. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Human ships appeared from nowhere, disabled stations and patrol vessels, and vanished before anyone could respond. No one was killed. No one was even injured. But within hours, the entire border region around the former dead zone was silent. The Council received their first reports the next morning. A young aide rushed into the chamber where the 7 rulers sat on their massive thrones. "My lords," the aide gasped, "something has happened at the dead zone border. All our stations have gone dark." The crystal being leaned forward. "What do you mean, dark?" "We have lost contact with everything within 10 light years of Earth's system. Ships, stations, monitoring posts, everything." For a moment, none of the Council members spoke. Then the oldest one, the tree-like being, said something that surprised them all. So they survived. The next few weeks were a nightmare for the Council. Human ships appeared everywhere, always where they were least expected. They targeted power plants and communication towers, supply depots and transportation hubs. They never killed anyone. They simply made things stop working. The galaxy began to feel what Earth had felt for 100 years. Cut off from trade, isolated from help, unable to call for assistance. Planets that had depended on imported food began to go hungry. Factories that needed rare materials shut down. Ships floated helplessly in space, their engines dead dot, and through it all, the humans said nothing. They did not make demands. They did not explain their actions. They simply moved through the galaxy like ghosts, leaving chaos in their wake. Captain Jiho brought the remembrance to the Council's home system. He did not try to hide. He flew his ship slowly past their defenses, which refused to fire because their targeting systems had mysteriously failed. He stopped within sight of the Council building itself. Then he waited. A message came from the surface. It was a high-ranking official, his voice shaking with fear. "Human vessel," the official said. "Please respond. We wish to talk." Jiho let him wait for an hour before answering. "Then talk," he said simply. "What do you want? Why are you doing this? We can negotiate. We can make a deal. Please, just tell us what you want." Jiho smiled, though the alien could not see it. "We want you to understand," he said. "For 100 years, Earth was alone, cut off from everything, left to die. Our people starved. Our children suffered. And no one in the galaxy cared. We can apologize," the official said quickly. "We can pay reparations. We do not want your apologies," Jiho interrupted. "We want you to feel what we felt. We want you to understand what it means to be forgotten." The communication ended. The remembrance stayed where it was, silent and waiting. Back on Earth, Neon reported to Admiral Heian. "Phase 1 is complete," she said. "The border is secure. The Council is confused and frightened. They do not know how many ships we have or what we plan to do next." Heian nodded. "Good. Begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was different from Phase 1. Instead of attacking, the human ships began to help. They appeared at worlds that had been abandoned by the Council, places where people were dying from lack of food or medicine. They delivered supplies without asking for anything in return. They healed the sick and fed the hungry. A young alien girl on a forgotten colony world watched a human ship land near her village. She was afraid at first. The stories about humans had made them sound like monsters. But then a woman stepped out of the ship carrying boxes of food. "Who are you?" the girl asked. The woman smiled. "We are humans," she said. "We are here to help. But why?" "The Council says you are dangerous." The woman knelt down so she was at the girl's level. "We were exiled because they thought we would become destroyers. They were wrong. We became something else instead." "What?" "We became the people who remember what it feels like to be alone. And we decided that no one else should have to feel that way." News of these acts spread across the galaxy. The Council tried to control the information to make humans seem threatening and evil. But the truth was harder to hide. Humans were not conquering. They were not destroying. They were healing wounds that the Council had ignored for centuries. Neon returned to Admiral Heian with reports from a dozen worlds. "They do not understand," she said. "They keep waiting for us to attack, to demand surrender, to act like conquerors. When we help them instead, they do not know how to react." Heian smiled. "That is the point. The Council ruled through fear for 12,000 years. They cannot imagine a power that does not want to rule. They cannot understand a strength that does not want to crush. When we show them mercy, it terrifies them more than any weapon. And if they try to fight back, they will not," Heian said with certainty. "Fighting requires courage, and the Council has none. They have grown soft and weak while we grew hard and strong. They will talk and delay and try to negotiate. And while they talk, we will keep helping. We will keep healing. We will show the galaxy that there is another way." 3 months after the barriers fell, the Council sent a message to Earth. They wanted to meet. They wanted to talk. They wanted, for the first time in 12,000 years, to listen. Admiral Heian read the message and laughed. "It begins," she said. Tell them we will send an ambassador. Tell them that humanity is ready to talk. She paused, and her smile grew wider. But warn them, they will not like what we have to say. Ambassador Sunho had been preparing for this moment his entire life. His grandmother had been one of the first diplomats sent to meet with alien species back before the exile. His mother had trained him in the art of negotiation and persuasion. His father had taught him to speak 12 alien languages. Now, he stood outside the great doors of the council chamber, the same doors that Admiral Do-yoon had walked through 100 years ago, the same chamber where humanity had been condemned to death. The guards at the door raised their weapons as Sunho approached. He did not slow down. He walked straight toward them, his face calm and confident. "Stand aside," he said in their language. "We have orders to stop any human from..." Their weapons died in their hands. The power cells simply stopped working. The guards looked at their useless guns in shock. Sunho walked past them without a second glance. I said, "Stand aside." The great doors opened, and Sunho stepped into the chamber where the 7 rulers of the galaxy waited. They looked older than they had in the recordings he had studied. Smaller, somehow. Less impressive. The crystal being spoke first. "You dare enter this chamber without permission?" "I do not need your permission," Sunho replied. "I am here to deliver a message from humanity. You may choose to listen or not. It makes no difference to us." The oldest council member, the tree-like being, leaned forward. "You speak boldly for someone standing alone before the rulers of the galaxy." Sunho smiled. "I am not alone. Right now, human ships are in orbit around each of your home worlds. They are not there to threaten you. They are there to remind you that the time of your rule is ending." The council members shifted uncomfortably on their thrones. They had received reports about the human ships. They knew those ships could disable their defenses in seconds. They knew they were powerless. "What do you want?" the insect being asked. Its voice was harsh, but Sunho could hear the fear beneath it. "That is the wrong question," Sunho said. "The question you should ask is, what do we not want?" He began to walk slowly around the chamber, looking at each throne in turn. "We do not want your planets. We do not want your resources. We do not want to rule the galaxy in your place. Then what? We want you to understand what you did to us, and we want to show you what we became because of it." Sunho pulled a small device from his pocket. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed Earth as it had been 100 years ago, a blue planet full of life and hope. "This was our home before you exiled us," Sunho said. 8 billion people lived there. They had dreams and hopes and families. They had done nothing wrong. The hologram changed. Now it showed Earth during the dark years. Cities abandoned, fields empty, smoke rising from burning buildings. "This is what happened after you cut us off. In the first decade, 3 billion people died. They died from starvation, from disease, from despair. Children watched their parents die. Parents buried their children. The council members said nothing. Some looked away. You did this because you were afraid of what we might become. You killed billions of innocent people because of a possibility, a fear, a guess about the future." Sunho's voice was steady, but his eyes burned with a century of grief. "For 100 years, we lived in darkness. We suffered in ways you cannot imagine. And during all that time, not one species in the galaxy tried to help us. Not one voice spoke up for humanity." The hologram changed again. Now it showed something different. Human ships arriving at dying worlds, bringing food and medicine. It showed alien children being saved by human doctors. It showed abandoned colonies being rebuilt with human help. "But we are not like you," Sunho continued. "When we emerged from exile, we did not seek revenge. Instead, we remembered what it felt like to be alone, and we decided to help those who had been abandoned the way we were. The crystal being made a sound that might have been a laugh. You expect us to believe this? That you crossed the galaxy just to help people? No species does that without wanting something in return. Sunho shook his head. That is the problem with your thinking. You cannot imagine power without control. You cannot imagine strength without domination. You have ruled this galaxy for 12,000 years, and in all that time, you never learned the simplest truth. And what truth is that? The tree-like being asked. That the strongest force in the universe is not fear or power or control. It is compassion. It is mercy. It is the choice to help when you have every reason to hurt. He pressed another button, and the hologram showed something new. Technology unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Ships that could travel between galaxies in hours. Machines that could restore dead worlds to life. Medical devices that could cure diseases thought to be permanent. During our exile, we developed these things. We have the power to heal worlds that you destroyed in your wars. We can feed populations that you left to starve. We can cure plagues that have killed millions. The council members stared at the hologram in disbelief. This technology is beyond anything in our records, the insect being said. How is this possible? Because you gave us time, Sunho replied. 100 years of isolation, with nothing to do but think and build and dream. You meant to destroy us. Instead, you gave us the gift of focus. He turned off the device and looked directly at the oldest council member. Here is the truth you must accept. Humanity no longer needs anything from the galaxy. We could leave right now, build our own civilization among the stars, and never speak to any of you again. You cannot stop us. You cannot control us. You cannot threaten us. Then why are you here? The tree-like being asked quietly. Sunho was silent for a moment before answering. Because we choose to be. Because despite everything you did to us, we remember that you are not monsters. You are just afraid. And we have decided to help you even though you do not deserve it. The chamber was completely silent. We are offering you a partnership, Sunho continued. Not as rulers and subjects, but as equals. We will share our technology with any world that wants it. We will help rebuild what has been broken. We will teach what we have learned. And what do you ask in return? The crystal being asked suspiciously. Nothing. We ask for nothing except that you stop being afraid. The insect being stood up from its throne. Anger in its many eyes. This is a trick. Some kind of deception. You are trying to make us lower our guard so you can destroy us. Sunho did not flinch. If we wanted to destroy you, you would already be destroyed. Your weapons do not work. Your defenses are useless. Your fleets are floating dead in space. We have had the power to end your civilization for months. We chose not to use it. He let that truth sink in before continuing. The horror you feel right now is not because of what we might do to you. It is because of what we have chosen not to do. You cannot understand mercy, so it terrifies you more than any weapon. The oldest council member rose slowly from its throne. It walked down the steps until it stood before Sunho, looking at him with ancient eyes. I was on the council when your species was exiled, it said. I voted for it. I believed it was the right choice. I thought we were protecting the galaxy from a threat. Sunho met its gaze. And now? Now I see that we created the very thing we feared, but not in the way we expected. The being paused. We thought you would become destroyers. Instead, you became something we have no word for. Something that gives without taking. Something that heals without demanding payment. We call it being human, Sunho said simply. The council member nodded slowly. Perhaps you will teach us what that means. Sunho looked around the chamber at the 7 beings who had once ruled the galaxy without question. They looked smaller now, weaker. Not because they had lost power, but because they had finally seen what true power looked like. "We will try," he said. "But I warn you, the lesson will not be easy. You have spent 12,000 years believing that strength means domination. Learning that strength means service will take time." He turned and began walking toward the door. "Wait," the crystal being called out. "Where are you going?" "We have not finished negotiating." Sunho stopped but did not turn around. "There is nothing to negotiate. We made our offer. You can accept it or reject it. Either way, we will continue helping those who need help. The choice is yours." He walked out of the chamber, leaving the 7 rulers of the galaxy sitting in silence, trying to understand what had just happened. For 12,000 years, they had been the most powerful beings in existence. Now they had met something more powerful than themselves. And the most terrifying part was that this power did not want to defeat them. It wanted to save them, and they had no idea how to respond. 10 years had passed since the barriers fell. The galaxy was different now, not because humans had conquered it, but because they had changed it in ways no one expected. Director Yunji stood on the surface of a world called Velos 9. 10 years ago, this planet had been a dead rock, destroyed in an ancient war that even the Council had forgotten about. Its atmosphere had been burned away. Its oceans had boiled into space. Nothing had lived here for 3,000 years. Now grass grew beneath her feet. A gentle breeze carried the smell of flowers. In the distance, she could see a forest beginning to take root on the hills. "The soil tests came back," her assistant reported. "Full microbial activity. The ecosystem is self-sustaining now." Yunji smiled. This was the 16th dead world her team had restored. 16 planets brought back to life using technology that humanity had developed during the exile. 16 chances for new civilizations to grow. "Good," she said. "Tell the colonists they can begin arriving next month." The colonists were not human. They were members of a species that the Council had nearly wiped out centuries ago. There were only a few thousand of them left, living in cramped refugee camps on hostile worlds. Now they would have a home again. An alien official approached Yunji. He was from the species that had once voted to exile humanity. His people were not comfortable around humans, even now. But he had volunteered to work on this project because he wanted to understand. "I have a question," he said nervously. "If you do not mind, ask, why do you do this? Your people spent 100 years in darkness because of us. Why do you help instead of hurt?" Yunji looked out at the reborn world. She thought about her grandmother, who had starved during the early years of exile. She thought about her father, who had died in a mining accident trying to gather resources for survival. She thought about all the pain and suffering that the Council's decision had caused. "Because hurt only creates more hurt," she finally said. "We spent 100 years learning that lesson. The Council hurt us because they were afraid. If we hurt them back, we would just be continuing the cycle. But how can you forgive what was done to you?" Yunji shook her head. "I did not say we forgive. Some wounds are too deep to ever fully heal. But forgiveness is not the same as choosing a better path. We can remember what was done to us and still decide to be different." The official was silent for a long moment. "I do not think my people would be capable of that," he admitted. "Maybe not yet," Yunji said. "But that is why we are here, to show you that there is another way." Far across the galaxy, Admiral Hagen sat on the bridge of the New Dawn. He was an old man now, his hair white and his face lined with years. He had served in the Defense Force since before the barriers fell. He had led some of the first missions into the galaxy after the exile ended. Now he watched as the sun rose over a world that had not seen sunlight in 10,000 years. The planet's artificial cloud cover, created by an ancient weapon of war, was finally clearing. Below, millions of beings were watching their first sunrise. A young alien officer approached him. She was from one of the species that had attacked humanity in the early days of their return, before they understood what humans were trying to do. Now she served alongside them. "Admiral," she said, "may I ask you something personal?" Haejun nodded. "Of course. Why did your people not destroy us? After everything the Council did, after a century of suffering, you had every right to take revenge. But you did not. I do not understand." Haejun smiled, that small, tired smile that carried the weight of everything he had experienced. "Because that is what everyone expected us to do. The Council exiled us because they thought we would become monsters. They feared our potential for destruction. But you had the power to prove them right." "Yes, we did. And that is exactly why we could not use it." He turned to look at the young officer. "Do you know what the worst part of exile was? It was not the hunger or the darkness or the dying. It was knowing that someone had decided we were not good enough to exist among the stars. That we were too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable." The officer nodded slowly. "That must have been painful." "It was. But it also gave us a choice. We could become what they feared, or we could become something they never imagined. We could prove them right, or we could prove them wrong." He looked back at the sunrise. "We chose to prove them wrong. And the rest of the galaxy? They feared us because they thought we were monsters. We had to become something else entirely. Something that frightened them in a different way." "What do you mean?" Haejun was quiet for a moment. "There is nothing more terrifying to someone who rules through fear than someone who rules through love. The Council could understand an enemy that wanted to destroy them. They could not understand an enemy that wanted to save them." The sunrise painted the clouds in colors of gold and pink. Below, millions of beings were crying and laughing and holding each other. They were seeing something their grandparents had only dreamed of. "You know," the officer said quietly, "when I was young, we were taught that humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. That you were violent and unpredictable and should be avoided at all costs. And now?" She looked at the Admiral with something like wonder in her eyes. "Now I think you might be the most dangerous species in the galaxy. But not for the reasons we were told." Haejun laughed softly. "I suppose that is true. There is nothing more dangerous than someone who has nothing to lose and everything to give." On Earth, the Great Memorial stood in what had once been a city destroyed during the Dark Years. It was a simple structure, just a wall of black stone with names carved into it. Millions of names. All the people who had died during the exile. People came from across the galaxy to see it. Humans and aliens alike stood before the wall and read the names. Some cried. Some prayed. Some simply stood in silence, trying to understand the cost of fear. A young human boy stood with his alien friend, both of them too young to remember the exile. They had grown up together on a space station where dozens of species lived and worked side by side. "My great-grandmother's name is on this wall," the boy said, pointing to a spot near the bottom. "What happened to her?" his friend asked. "She died in the 3rd year. There was not enough medicine to treat her sickness." The alien was quiet for a moment. "I'm sorry," he finally said. "My people voted for the exile. It was before I was born, but I am still sorry." The boy shook his head. "It is not your fault. You did not vote for anything, but my ancestors did. Does that not make me responsible?" "No," the boy said firmly. "We cannot be responsible for what our ancestors did. We can only be responsible for what we do now." They stood together before the wall of names. Two children from species that had once feared and hated each other. Now they were friends. Now they played together and learned together and dreamed together. Perhaps that was the true victory of humanity. Not the technology they had created, or the worlds they had healed, or the power they had gained. It was the simple fact that two children could stand together and call each other friend. The story of Earth's exile became a legend told across the galaxy. It was taught in schools and discussed in governments and remembered in ceremonies. But different species told the story in different ways. Some told it as a warning. Do not underestimate what seems weak, for weakness can become strength. Some told it as a tragedy, a galaxy that punished potential instead of nurturing it, and the price that was paid for that fear. Some told it as a mystery, a species that could have destroyed their enemies and chose mercy instead, for reasons that defied explanation. But humans told it differently. To them, it was not a story of revenge or tragedy or mystery. It was a story about choice. When they were cast into darkness, they could have surrendered to despair. They chose hope. When they emerged with terrible power, they could have used it for destruction. They chose creation. When they faced those who had wronged them, they could have demanded revenge. They chose forgiveness. Each choice was harder than the one before. Each choice cost them something precious. But each choice also made them more than they had been. Admiral Hayon, now very old and near the end of her life, gave one final speech on the anniversary of the exile's end. She stood before a crowd of humans and aliens, all listening to her words. They threw us into darkness because they feared our light, she said. They were right to fear, but they misunderstood what kind of light we would become. She paused, looking out at the faces before her. Young and old, human and alien, all united by a shared future. They thought we would burn them. Instead, we chose to warm them. They thought we would blind them. Instead, we chose to guide them. They thought we would destroy them with our fire. Instead, we chose to share it. Her voice grew soft, but everyone could still hear her. That is the lesson of our exile. Not that we survived, not that we grew strong, but that we chose, again and again, to be better than what was done to us. She smiled, and in that smile was a century of pain and hope and triumph. They asked me once why we did not destroy them. I told them the truth, because that is what they expected. What they did not expect, what horrified them more than any weapon or fleet or army, was simple. She raised her head and spoke her final words to a galaxy that was finally listening. We chose to love them instead. The crowd was silent. Then, slowly, the applause began.